What's up, guys and gals? And I'd love to say happy Wednesday to everyone, but as we know, or as some of you caught my message yesterday on Wednesday when the chapter dropped, this review is likely to not come out until hopefully tonight, Thursday night, at the time of recording, but it might even be pushed till Friday, depends on how much else I can get done. Just been quite a busy week, still healing the injury from the old back and all the organs therein. So unfortunately I wasn't able to make it on time for chapter 340, but we're here now, right? So Kengan Omega, chapter 340, Gaolang versus Raian. We are actually going to get that fight. The fight has actually started, and I'm happy about it. Okay, like this, the chapter is very simple and very straightforward. So you would think that I would have been able to get this out yesterday, but you would think. In all honesty, I understand Nogi's position, but it doesn't make sense at this junction, I guess. Because he's basically saying at the beginning of the chapter the new rule was implemented, and they brought up some of the major head owners came over to Nogi and was like, there's not enough worms for this. Like, this might incentivize them so they can't team up on our other guys and stuff like that, but this is going to fracture the unity of our teams and our members, you know what I mean? They're all working together to stop the worm. Most of them are aware. Most of our fighters have been briefed, by the sounds of it. What are you doing this early in the game? Like, sure, they might eliminate some worms, but we're going to fraction our own fighting force more than theirs, no matter who, no matter what. Like, there's just, the numbers don't add up for that. Now, Nogi's reasoning is there can only be one champion. And this has been brought up not only in the community before, but I believe there was a chapter when the tournament started and they sort of went, one of the characters, I believe, did say, like, there can only be one champion. Why would I team up with anybody, sort of idea. This makes sense to a degree, but as I said, I think it's too early. Because this whole tournament is quite literally the quote-unquote gauntlet for Shen, right? This tournament is a giant Kengan match with the opportunity and the win conditions to actually defeat Shen. That's what this whole thing was organized for. So, while in any other circumstance, this rule being added before you get to the other area would force fighters to fight, and you can't just stay hidden, etc., etc. While that would be very cool, right now that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because you are going to, especially when you have matchups like the one in the later half of the chapter, Gaolang and Raian. Well, I don't want either one of them eliminated, nor do I want either one, at 25% or 10%, even if this fight gets interrupted. Let's say the fight gets interrupted and both of them make it to the final area, right? But if this fight goes on for any actual length of time, where Gaolang has already used Flash and God Glow, Raian has already used instantaneous removal, so, like, somebody's going to get damaged. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, we're taking some of our strongest, and these are just two. There could be other S tiers. Like, what if Kuroki goes at it with Oma? You see what I'm saying? Like, so by the time they get to Shen, people are going to be heavily injured. So this, from the standpoint of this entire tournament, was designed as one giant Kengan match, giving us the most amount of chances and opportunity to actually defeat Shen and defeat the worm as a whole before they take over, because that's the agreement, right? Remember what the whole agreement was. Like, they win, it's kind of, you got to do it with, like, you want us, defeat us in a Kengan match to state your terms. The worm will control all of them, the entire Kengan Association, the whole bit, which includes Purgatory, if that comes to pass. So, yeah, while Nogi's argument makes sense for a tournament, and it would make sense later on during the tournament, like in the later stages, we're talking like fourth quarter shit, right now, I know he's got to look tough, but I don't think this was a great idea. Certainly not for the one sole purpose of this tournament. So, yeah, it's definitely... It's a gray area because there definitely is an argument on both sides. Plus, fighters, as the fighters get whittled down, they are going to be like, hey, there can only be one of us who gets in here and stuff like that. So, it just felt a little early, but hey, the surprises are there. From a writing perspective, this is a big surprise. And I don't think any fans of the manga, whether naysayers or actual fans, could argue that this is only a narrative good thing. Because narratively, we are going to now get a bunch of fights, and not just Nameless Worm versus Seki, Nameless Worm versus Kuroki, Nameless Worm versus Jirota. No, we're gonna get Jirota versus I don't know, maybe Kuroki. There you go, right? We are gonna get fights. We're gonna get some proper fights, and not just those with a small vendetta or something like that, or guys who want to execute justice. Right, because of course you got to execute that justice. So yeah, as far as that goes, I think it's a gray area. In universe, the argument isn't solid either way. I don't think it's exactly a black and white issue, but as readers, there should be nobody complaining about this, in my opinion, because it's only going to force really random matchups, really interesting matchups. And matchups where we wouldn't expect it to happen with there being an enemy. You know, because in the Ashura tournament, of course, everybody was your enemy that you would potentially have to fight. So all fighters were enemies until the matches were over, right? Then here, we've sort of compartmentalized that, and now what this rule does is sort of spread that out again, you know? Like mixing paint color almost. Now it's all messed. Now you've mixed it. Now there's not just blue and yellow. We've made green out of this. You know, there's a middle where there's a lot of green flowing through the blue and yellow now. So, yeah, that's what I think is what is happening here, or trying to subvert expectations a little bit maybe here. Either way, I think it's interesting. I've seen people talk about it, and I just can't understand from a reading perspective how this won't be a good thing. If you're still keeping with Omega 340 chapters in, and you know you want to watch these fights, you want to see these great matchups, I mean, this will only provide those opportunities to see matchups that you've been wanting since maybe Ashura. So anyways, that's my take on that. The other half of the chapter, 3/4 of the chapter, of course, jumps over to Gaolang and Raian, and they fight. They start fighting. As I already said, God Glow is used, Flash is used, removal is used. I've seen an argument about the whole instantaneous removal and the whole... We'll get to that. We'll get to that at the very end. And we'll talk about how, you know, once again, reading comprehension and Kengan fans sometimes is a wee bit of a thing. So yeah, here, the Seki's trying to say, like, wait a minute. You know, we've still got plenty of time right now. Who says that we've all got to fight each other? Maybe we should, you know, try to find, like... And Seki doesn't bring this up, but from Seki's perspective, it's like, how about the three of us go track down some of these supernovas, or some of these guys, you know, the C and the B tier fighters, and we take them out and reserve our energy and our strength. We'll all move to the next area. We'll eventually fight each other, but let's conserve as much of our strength and power as we can going forward. I'm reading between the lines with that one, but Seki's just like, wait a minute, why do you guys so want to go at it so bad? And Raian immediately says, shut the fuck up, the champ is ready over here. The champ is into this. The champ wants a chance at me, you know what I mean? And Gaolang versus Raian, I am here for it. So, Gaolang basically says to Seki, be my witness. He wants to show, like, alright, I'm going to take on the demon of the Cure Clan. Let's go. He's just, it's time, right? And Seki's just like, alright, fine. And so he's going to watch and witness this awesome fight between Raian and Gaolang. So they both get set up. Raian starts taking off his sports coat, because for some reason he's wearing a sports coat these days. Or it's more like a Letterman jacket, I suppose, but still. It's still funny to me sometimes in certain shots. And he's like, yes, Gaolang, you're so sexy, I just love to get naked when I'm around you. And so he starts taking off his clothes, and Gaolang's like, oh, I know I'm sexy. I'm sexy, and I know it. Boom! Jab to the face. And immediately, he takes a hit. But it looks like Raian managed to slightly dodge it at the last second, is the way that I took it. Like, he took the hit, but he sort of, like, he got hit, and then he sort of diverted the impact sort of idea. That's how it sort of looks to me. Now, this is where Gaolang's like, this fight's already started. I don't know what you're yapping about. And I'm like, all right, the shit talking starts. So Raian looking very devilish, very badass there with the, oh, it's on all right sort of idea. So they start going at it. You know, they're just trading blows pretty much. But Raian is keeping up. Oh, of course Raian can keep up. Now, the only problem I actually have with this chapter is that Seki immediately goes, he's keeping up with Gaolang's speed. Guess they're an even match in hand speed. And then, so he repeats himself, and then on the next page says, can't believe he's going blow for blow with the best boxer of all time. This guy's outrageous. Seki has seen these boys fight before. He's seen them fight multiple times. He should know, while he can initially be surprised that Raian is keeping up with Gaolang's jab, that should only have been the one panel. Like, he's keeping up with Gaolang's speed right out of the gate. But doubling down on that with the, I guess they're an even match in hand speed, which I would still argue that Gaolang has still got the fastest hand speed. He's keeping up with it. I wouldn't say they're exactly even, but, I mean, this is just Seki's perspective right now on the whole thing, and it is what it is. Now, then he doubles down on the, I can't believe he's going blow for blow. It's like, all right, so this just felt like they were trying to, like, fill out a little bit of the pages to me, because he was just repeating himself a couple of times there, you know what I mean? So I wasn't the hugest fan of that. But then we get back to the fight, and he actually, Gaolang's not holding back. He goes for the flash. I wish he would open up with Muay Thai way more often, because everyone expects him to fight like a boxer. And his Muay Thai is, like, combination is much more dangerous, because everyone expects him with his fists. So if he started off with a fucking flying knee, like, you take someone off guard completely. You know, so, but once again, he does do that. He goes for the flash immediately. Now we see the veins of Raian going into removal, right? So he goes into removal, and he seemingly is dodging Gaolang's jabs. He's dodging the flash while in removal. Now that I can buy. That removal allows him to be able to keep up with Gaolang's fastest punches. But then he immediately gets hit, and we're like, what is it? God Glow so I like this. I really like this exchange, because Gaolang's like, alright, well, I've already used the flash on him before when we were test fighting and stuff like that. So he starts off with the flash, but ends his flash combo with a God Glow immediately. And this hits Raian. And it seemingly hurts Raian, because he stepped back. He staggered back from that attack. But then Raian immediately goes back into his stance. He's smiling, and he says, so that's the God Glow? The so-called fastest strike of all time? Now, I don't remember the God Glow being considered the fastest strike, but it's been a long time since I reread the KVP. So, I thought God Glow just happened to be, like, his, like, ultimate punch. Like, it's like a, not, I guess comparing it to the Blast Core would be kind of off. But, you know what I mean? Like, this is his finisher move. Like, it's his finishing. It's not just a jab. It's not just his fastest punch. It is a fast punch, but the God Glow is a really powerful punch alongside. Like, I thought it was a right straight or whatever. You know, like, that's what I thought the God Glow was supposed to be, just the fastest and strongest right straight that he can do, and it's not a jab. But okay, fastest of all time. So once again, I could be misreading that. I mean, I don't know. Either way, Ryan's like, well, that's slow as shit, even though he did get hit by it. Now, I didn't see at any point in the first panel, as I said, in the first time when I thought that he dodged the initial jab or dispersed some of the damage, I thought he did that. According to Seki right afterwards, because Raian then goes into removal, we see again the veins, slams an attack into Gaolang, who has to immediately put up the blocks. And Seki said he's so fast. Is that the speed he used to avoid a clean hit by the God Glow? So what Seki is stating here, because it didn't seem like it, looked like he took the God Glow straight to the face, but he did manage to disperse some of the damage. He didn't take a clean hit, just like how the Dragon Shot works and stuff like that. The God Glow hit him, but he managed to disperse a lot of the damage. So, okay, I can buy that, and that's why Ryan's like feeling no worse for wear. Because if that is Ryan, even if he was in the removal state when he took it, which it doesn't seem like he was, it seems like he turned it off right as he took it, but he still dispersed the damage. If that's the case, and that's all the God Glow managed to do to Ryan, Gaolang's in way more over his head than I thought he was. Because, I mean, obviously the bets are going to go to Ryan over Gaolang. As much as I think Gaolang is officially an S-tier fighter at this late stage of the game, that he's in the S-tier, he's not quite on Ryan's level. You know, and there's very few people that surpass Ryan at this point, right? So, Kuroki, Oma, that's the only two I can think of right off the top of my head. I mean, you guys can make arguments for Agito or Roland or somebody like that, but I honestly right now I think Ryan's just, until we see something else, like we get the impression that he's learned principles to a degree, or he's been honing it because of the sword and stuff like that. And yeah, so I don't know, man. Like, this is definitely looking like a very uphill battle. So I'm glad that Seki remarked that it was not a clean hit, and that's why the God Glow seemingly, it hit Ryan. He staggered back, but it didn't seem to do any, huge amount of damage. So now Ryan, of course, once again, we see removal again, and just bang, and he smacks into Gaolang's guard again. And this is where Gaolang remarks at the end of the chapter saying that, oh, I get what you're doing now. You're using instantaneous removal. Is that what you're now capable of? Goes to removal 100%, and this is where Ryan says, this is the first time I've been used this on a human. Let's go, sort of at the end of chapter. Now, as I said, we'll talk about this instantaneous removal because I like the chapter. I think you guys can tell from my long-winded, explanation here about everything. I'm going to every detail, probably just trying to make up for the fact that I missed doing this review on Wednesday, so I don't want to miss a thing. Just like Steven Tyler once told me, I don't want to miss a thing. So, the last part to really talk about is this instantaneous removal. What he's doing, and why it's a new thing, because people are saying, well, removal never took any time before, and it's like, well, no, not exactly. It took a little bit, but we've never had the indication that's not what they mean by instantaneous removal. What they mean is that he's doing what Oma was doing in the KVP fight. He's conserving his energy, because even Ryan can't stay in removal 100% of the time all the time. We saw this. We've seen this before with Ryan. Now, his stamina is probably improved, his endurance, his ability, even though his removal was always at 100%, he's probably more adept at using it than ever before, sure. But there is a limit to how much he can use this. It's like the advance, it's like everything. So, what he's doing is just what Oma did, and Ryan never did that before. He's waiting for the moment that he has to dodge or strike. He turns on the removal within a millisecond, and then is able to use the removal and then turn it right back off. So he's using it to its maximum effect. He's using it efficiently, so he can use it a lot more and a lot longer. And so it is still technically new. It's using the removal in a newer, unique way. It's not unique. It's similar to what Oma did with the advance. Ryan has now taken that idea into his repertoire, and now he's using it to very good effect. And it will throw off any fighter's timing, because if you get a gauge on his normal timing, he uses the removal to change up the pace, just like what happened with Roland. So this is not, it is new. He's using, removal's not new, but I think people took that instant removal too far, he can immediately go to removal. Well, he almost always could, yes, but that's not what they mean by that. So once again, the reading comprehension of Kengan readers sometimes is questionable at best. But yeah, so I hope that explanation marks it down for you guys. Once again, I like this chapter. As I said, my only problem was that little weird Seki thing where they're even in speed. They're even in speed. I can't believe they're even in speed. 3 panels in a row. It wasn't even put at different, like every second page, he'd be like, wow, so fast, wow, so fast, wow, so fast. No, it was literally back to back to back. That felt like, okay, they just trying to hype it up and trying to move on from this and stuff like that. So, but for me personally, as I said, I liked this chapter. I thought it was a really good chapter, and I'm just sorry that I didn't bring up the review yesterday when it dropped. So hopefully, as I said, I get this out before Friday. I'm hoping it'll render in time and stuff like that, and I'll be able to get this out for you guys. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as always. And hopefully, with a 20-minute long review, I shouldn't have missed a damn thing. I think I went through every panel, went through every page, every gripe, and yeah. So looking forward to chapter 341 as this fight continues. I hope you guys are enjoying the fact that we seemingly are getting the fight. They're using their moves. Removal, God Glow, Flash. Those three have already been used in one chapter alone. So let's look for some, honestly, let's look for some blood in the next part of the fight, in the next chapter. So looking forward to 341. Hope you guys are too. Have a good one, and we'll see you next time.